Morning. Working my way up to doing a live video. Just getting a little bit more practice. Yeah, I'm quite a contemplative person. So in the past on these videos, I can forget that I'm actually speaking on video and go lost in thought and then have to restart the video again. So what I'm working towards is building my self-awareness muscle around staying focused and completing these videos without going off on track. So today I want to talk about what you fill in your head with. It's probably best if I share what it is that I'm filling my head with at the moment. I'm a big reader. I go through phases though where I do cheat. I don't think it is really cheating. It's just what takes my fancy at the time. Say for example, so I'm a relationship support coach, so I like to keep up to date with the latest stuff around healthy relationships and marriage. And I started off with me being empowered Estelle, my little higher self name. The Empowered Wife by Laura Doyle. Some people on here looking at this might have read The Surrendered Wife or Surrendered Single. That's the follow-on book. And John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, does the foreword for that. And then I realised that John Gray has got a fairly new book out, Beyond Mars and Venus, Relationship Skills for Today's Complex World. Really good. I got that on audio book. It's so good. I got that on audio book. So, you know, if you're not a big reader of books or whatever else, Kindle, audio book is always a good option. So those are the two books I'm reading on. I suppose that's to do with work, but also everything, you know, that is to do with around relationships is obviously I apply it foremost in my own marriage, and obviously the most important relationship you'll ever have is with yourself. So it's about getting yourself in a good place and a good space, which I think Laura Doyle is very good for explaining that. Could be a little bit provocative if you're new on your journey with self-care, but sometimes, you know, we need to get a little bit triggered in a good way to make some healthy changes. So that's what I'm reading biz-wise. And then also reading that probably is going to take me most of the year to read. I can be quite a slow reader, and the reason is because high performance habits, there's just so much content in there that the amount of notes that I'm taking is just going to take a little while for that one to sink in at a deep level. So I might have to do a separate report back on that one. I suppose this is linked in with work, but mainly it's about emotional intelligence. It's a little book that I'm not reading all of it. I've read it quite a few times. I'm just picking out bits and bobs because I'm using that at the moment. I won't get into that, but yeah, so that's a little book I'm using or have used, and I would recommend if you want to improve on your emotional intelligence, especially if you struggle with anxiety or low mood. It's a good book. And then the biggie that I wanted to come on to is I think last night's dinner. 4 minutes into the video and I've just realised I've just been looking at a piece of spaghetti on the table. Oh well, I'm not stopping now. Bear with. Laugh and learn and all that. So I wanted to deal with the spiritual aspect of things, because I think that is something in the West that we neglect potentially. So my word on this, which describes it wonderfully, is acedia, and it's a word that doesn't tend to get used anymore, and it means a spiritual apathy, because I think for a lot of people, they're just like, what? You know, I haven't really got time for this. How does all this fit into, you know, my life with my family and work? I mean, there will be those of us that are or consider themselves to be very spiritual, which, yeah, I could talk about that if you know, the spiritual side of things on another vid. But I wanted to talk about spirit and soul and faith in a very grounded way. Let's see if I can do that. So I'll chat through the books that I'm using at the moment on my journey. So I've got a daily devotional, a year's journey with God. So that's a little word for every day. So that's that one. That is based on the Christian faith, but it's not hardcore in your face. It's a very soft introduction. I suppose it is meant for the ladies because it's written by a lady and it's quite a feminine, sweet book. In contrast to that, I thought, because I've been getting a lot of, yeah, she says, I'm going to keep this grounded, and then she's off. So, The Road Less Travelled by M. Scott Peck, which is a real classic book. What does he say it's on? Classic work on relationships, spiritual growth, and life's meaning. I mean, he first wrote the book. Well, it's old. 78? Yeah, so it's a pretty old book. But I keep getting these little moments of serendipity. So occurrences. So little things that happen all together. So I'll hear a song, and then I'll turn to my devotional for the day, and it's talking about something that's in the song that's then applied to my walk with God. So it's that sort of thing. And I think, like, The Road Less Travelled, I've had such a journey with that book, in that it's one of my favourite books, and I remember buying it in my late 20s, I think it was, and I started to try and read it, and I do remember being in the car one day, and my husband was driving, and he was then my boyfriend, and I threw the book up the side of the car, and I said, I just cannot read this book. It's because it was just so alien to where I was at, working in the construction industry, and being fully in my male, in my left brain, in a lot of ways, not entirely. And when I had Izzy, gave birth to Izzy, and had a bit of a journey with that, and I picked the book back up again, and I just read it like It was food for the soul, food for the spirit. And what am I trying to say here? I think that, well, it's a journey, isn't it? And some of the stuff I'm talking about today, you could be like, oh, you know, what is she talking about? But actually, if I've planted a seed, you will get a little nudge from God, a little moment of serendipity, moment of grace, where you'll think, oh, and you might not even realise that it's from anything from what I've said today. It might have, there just might be something that's gone in at a subconscious level. But just what I'd say is keep looking out for those little signs, those little occurrences that happen that seem to have significant, especially if it happens in threes. I always think that it's definitely a little sign from God. I'll finish on the final book I read every day. That's my my Bible at the moment. It's a journaling for colouring in, because it's got really, really wide margins, so I can just scribble all over it, my notes. So, there. There's my little chat and ponder. So I would say to you, so what